Hey, John. How's it going?
Hey Eric, how you doing tonight?
Uh, we may be out of sync,
378 of
but
these and we still can't seem to do it, right?
can't get
I don't
started at
know.
the same time.
I don't know what to
That's all
tell you.
fun.
It's all good.
If only there was a bootleg version of the show. It'd be
Um,
funny. Hmm.
oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no,
All
no, no.
right.
Well, how was your week?
Um, so my weekend was a whole ton of little one-off jobby jobs around the house. I sprayed outside for ants and laid
Okay.
down some uh, death to all the bugs stuff in my around my outside of my house. I took a load of old paint and some old gas canisters I had found to the Metro Hazardous Waste dump area.
Mm,
I took a bunch of stuff to Goodwill. It was just kind of.
I'm surprised sometimes that there's anything left in your house. You guys are just so good.
We just get rid of so much stuff.
It's awesome.
It's- that implies a different problem. We acquire too much stuff. If we stopped acquiring stuff, I
Is
would.
the inflow and outflow equal, or
I, I think so. Although no, the outflow is still currently more.
yeah?
But now we're getting down to have it actually hunt down and find stuff to get rid of, as opposed to it just being obvious. You know,
All right. Well, I have not reached your level of tidyification yet, but
Tidyification.
I aspire to it someday.
Yeah. So that was my whole weekend. Was mostly just doing a bunch of errands and cleanup around the house and putting together different things. And I hung up my yellow jacket traps. So thank you. I went and grabbed some more.
Good for you. I have not
Um,
done mine yet, although the bait came and as well as some moth crystals. So I ordered
mm,
both moth crystals and yellow jacket lure.
okay. Yeah. Like I said,
It's
just
exciting.
did a whole ton of different things, and I have two other projects. I'm going to redo the upstairs shower
Okay.
in the kids' bathroom, or the guest
You
bathroom, I
are
should
going to
call it
do it, or
now.
you are going to have it done?
No, I am going to hire somebody
Mm.
to do what I would like them to
You are
do.
going to actively use a pen and
Direct
write a
them.
check.
Yes, that's exactly what
Okay.
I'm going to do. Although I'm kind of hoping they do Venmo or something, like, checks.
'Cause you're like,
Um,
how do I get a check?
how do I give you money if you won't take a credit card? Um, let's see. And
These days, everybody uses QuickBooks, and QuickBooks has an easy way to send an email that gives you a link that you go and pay. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking.
hypothetically, well, I will say, hey, do you guys use QuickBooks? I don't. But if you do, you can send me a link
Yes.
that I can just give you money.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
um, yeah, that was mostly my weekend. Was just a lot of checkbox projects that have been stacking up over the weeks.
Hmm.
So,
Well, fun. So last week was
eh.
a music week for us because my younger boy had a concert on Sunday, which meant Thursday, Friday, and Saturday they had a 2.5 hour rehearsal to kind of like
Ooh,
tune
that'll keep you busy.
get everything tuned up, especially when it's an hour away in East Portland.
so you had to go all the way to the other side of town.
Yeah, so we were leaving like at 5:30 every night, running through a drive-through basically for dinner, and then we alternated between like my wife and I taking him over, because he has his license, but he does not like to drive in Portland, like in
Downtown
downtown.
traffic.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially at that time of day, not pleasant.
yeah, totally. 100. We are 1,000,000% supportive of. Don't worry,
Yeah.
we got you.
Yeah.
So that was like Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then a 10. No, sorry, it was at a 11 a.m. call time because the concert was actually at 4 o'clock down It wasn't in the Schnitz. It was in the Newmark Theater, which is right across the street from the Schnitz in
Okay.
downtown
Yep.
Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at a little bit earlier time, so that more of the younger kids in the Metropolitan Youth Symphony could attend, and which was great. It was perfect, actually. Other than the fact that, like you say, he essentially went down, and I think they did a full dress rehearsal, and then had like a 2 hour break,
Mm-hmm.
and then they went on the stage and did the show, which was fabulous, fabulous.
Nice.
Doesn't hurt that this was like video games and movies music. So like the second half of the concert was mostly like 5 movements from Star Wars. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
I think we had this discussion. Like, there's still classical music.
Did I?
Like,
Yeah.
we argued over whether or not it was. No, it was symphonic or orchestral.
Versus
That's what
orchestral.
Okay.
It's a symphony, not an orchestra. An
symphony,
orchestra
not
would
an
only have strings. He
you go.
corrected me on this. I was like, "What's the difference?" He's like, "An orchestra only has strings. A symphony has brass and woodwinds
Okay.
in addition to strings." I'm like,
Gotcha.
"Well
Good to
done,
know.
well done, my pedantic son." So
I have raised another
I know.
to replace me when I am gone.
If anything, he's even more than me, which I do not mind in any way, shape, or form. So then we had reservations at for a nice dinner out afterwards with another family.
Nice.
So that was nice, and then just been busy then with work. So I did have one other thing, which is Friday. I had a half an hour Friday between meetings that I ran out to, because it was like 60 degrees. And I was like, all right, let me go see if the bees are eating the sugar that I put up there and maybe put more up if they're eating it. But I saw activity out of the other hive that I thought was dead. So I might have 2 hives alive instead of just the one. So I'm really excited. I popped the top. I looked and they were kind of offset from the center. So when I like quickly popped the top like a couple of weeks ago and I didn't see any activity, it might be just because they were not in the middle of the box where they normally are.
Right.
They were like off-centered. So I gave them sugar and put it back down and was like, please survive.
Fingers crossed.
Please survive. And I took one of the dead colonies that had like the whole top box was full of honey. And I put it on top of the really big colony so that they shouldn't starve out. Like they've now got, I don't know, 60 pounds of honey or 70 pounds of honey on top. So
They're good to go.
They should be good to go. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy about that.
Good.
So, and that's actually what I bought the moth crystals for, is because the moth crystals, when you take brood boxes off, if you just leave them, they can get wax moths in them. And but you can't use moth balls. Moth balls will kill bees. You have to use moth crystals. Anyway, it's a thing.
So crystal moth, and you're good.
I did not do it last year. I think it was last year, and I had a bunch of frames that had wax moths in them, and it was really, really gnarly.
Annoying.
Yeah, really annoying.
Okay.
So anyway, better living through chemistry. So
yes.
Hopefully I won't kill my bees again.
All right. I'm hoping for you.
You have no response. Yeah, you should. Why don't you stop killing your bees, John? That would be a good idea. If only you were that brilliant. Okay.
No. Okay.
I did throw one thing into Followup.
A follow-up item.
This is a Krebs article from last week. Follow-up from the AT&T hack. And I was like, we talked about that AT&T hack like last year. Because it was a follow-up from the snowflake thing. But so in July of 24, it was on episode 345. You had said you got your letter from AT&T, said that, your information was compromised, etc.
Uh-huh.
But so they made an arrest of a U.S. Army officer who had been stationed in Korea, who was so it says he was arrested near the Army base in Fort Cavazos in Texas, charged with 2 criminal counts of unlawful transfer of confidential phone records. He was a communications specialist at U.S. Army base in South Korea who secretly went by the name Kyber Phantom and was part of a trio of criminal hackers that extorted dozens of companies last year over stolen data.
It's pretty gutsy doing it from a military base.
Right?
You would think if anybody has decent security, although he was a communications specialist, so maybe he knows about the security.
So you would think that as a communication specialist, you would
also understand other things.
But he was also 21. So
there you go. Brain still not fully formed.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha. Okay.
It said on February 19th, he pled guilty to 2 counts of unlawfully transferring confidential phone records, but did so without the benefit of a plea agreement. But they had asked the court to allow him to stay with his father pending his sentencing. But in a response, the prosecutors said he was a flight risk, in part because they had his Google search history, including terms such as, or searches such as, where can I defect the U.S. government military? Which country will not hand me over? Or, and I'm quoting here, U.S. military personnel defecting to Russia. Or Embassy of Russia, Washington, D.C. So, yeah. The last thing I pulled out here is, and I'll just read this paragraph. As discussed in the government sealed filing, the government has uncovered evidence suggesting the charged conduct was only a small part of Wagenius's malicious activity, the government memo states. On top of this, for more than 2 weeks in November 24, Wagenius communicated with an email address he believed belonged to Country One's military intelligence service in an attempt to sell stolen information. Days after he apparently finished communicating with Country One's military intelligence service, Wagenius Googled, quote, "Can hacking be treason?"
Well, why, yes. Yes, it can.
Well, it certainly can be illegal. I imagine treason has a specific, especially if you're in the military, has a specific concerned punishment. But
yeah, it's about what you do with it. Hacking is a means to do something that enables you to.
I really hate
treasonous.
The co-option of the word hack in a purely negative sense. I hate it. I hate it.
Exactly.
But I can't prevent how people write and think and the popular zeitgeist or whatever.
Exactly. That's why That's why I gave up on calling cryptocurrency by its full name, and I've just said, fine, we'll call it crypto, and we all know what you mean. Despite cryptography being very interesting and useful, and the original
and
crypto.
That is what crypto is.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway. Okay, so perhaps A, don't steal data. B, don't try to steal data. And C, don't try to search about how to avoid getting caught having done A and B.
Especially probably because the judge said, under order, you have no access to computers. We're going to monitor your stuff. I mean, you have to know they're monitoring your stuff once you're in certain... Anyways, whatever. Okay.
Well, Eric, is anything secret on the internet?
Why, no, John. No, it is not. Once it leaves your device, you have lost all control.
Yes. All right.
Moving on to topic.
All right, hit me up.
A nice little segue here because we're still kind of in the government realms. This is a fantastic Wired story. I don't know if you saw this.
I saw you put the link in here, and I went and read it.
But so the headline, is as headlines are wont to do, is a little eye catchy,
Hmm.
right? And so the headline is Elon Musk's Starlink is keeping modern slavery compounds online, right?
Hmm.
Very, I don't want to go so far as to call that a clickbaity headline, but very much a you're going to want to read this now
Pretty
headline.
well defended in the article, though, I must say. I
It
must
is. It
say.
is. So, uh, highly recommend you folks go out and read this. And so the investigation is there are a lot of criminal organizations that use Starlink to get online because they can move their operation from some place where they have to have cable,
Hmm.
wired, some type of wired internet and high speed internet. They can move themselves out into the middle of, wherever. So there are these scam compounds in Myanmar where, according to the article, tens of thousands of people are enslaved and they're all using Starlink to get online and they're doing it for fraud and scams, sending fraud messages and scam messages. The article starts with a plea. I'll read from the article here. A plea for help arrived last summer. Quote, I am in Myanmar and work for a fraud company, a Chinese human trafficking victim wrote in a short email sent from within the Chai Chang scam compound. And Wired got a hold of this and started doing some analysis. And inside the article, it's got a bunch of information about how, for example, this Tai Chang scam compound was cut off in Thailand from internet access. So they basically moved and they're using Starlink. And this insider who has, is communicating and telling people, I'm not safe, I'm chatting with you secretly. One of the notes in here is that says, despite their risk, the first request wasn't to be rescued. They wanted to inform people of how they're doing this.
Hmm.
And it's Elon Musk Starlink is installed above all the buildings in the campus where we are now, the individual wrote. Now the fraud network is running normally. If the fraud network here is down, we can regain our freedom. Meaning, if Starlink,
Were to
who
enforce their policies.
can manage all those, connections, were to, you know, cut that off,
Hmm.
they could get all their, everybody could be free. According to the article, so far, SpaceX and Starlink have ignored any of the requests from different folks in different government agencies who have tried to contact, even by tagging Elon Musk on X. And it's so far being ignored. And some of these government agencies are saying, hey, we know exactly where these compounds are. The article has space, high altitude Google
Satellite
Earth
imagery.
like satellite imagery of the compounds and little dots showing where these Starlink satellites are and where the communications are coming from.
And pings from cell phones on with geolocation using Starlink networks
Correct.
was where some of that
Yes.
data was coming from.
Yeah. And so it's not plausible deniability like you might have for other like Comcast not knowing that somebody is connecting through somebody who's connecting through somebody.
Yeah.
They're connecting through Starlink.
Yeah.
There's no alternative
Yeah.
option here. And some of these government folks are saying, hey, we know exactly where the compounds are. If we can target which compound uses Starlink and collaborate with SpaceX, we can stop that compound from using Starlink. And Starlink's policies state that SpaceX may, not must, may terminate services to users if they participate in fraudulent activities or if a system is used in unauthorized locations. And so, I mean, they've shut down folks who are in locations where they don't offer services before, but so far, no news. So, great article. I'm not doing it justice. Very long,
It's a long, well researched,
very
well
exactly
documented.
well documented, well researched. Great article. it'd be nice if someone could spare a few cycles to help the world.
Or enforce their own policies.
Yeah. So, anyways, there you go. That's my first article. Great article in Wired, as per usual.
Yeah, Wired. Yeah, that's not like a fly-by-night thing either. I mean,
No,
Wired is
that's not like a 5 minute, and
yeah.
I don't want to, BuzzFeed article. I don't dog on any one thing, but it's not a 5 minute poll article or anything. It's like
Right.
like my something fun will be is a short 5 minute fly by night poll.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Hold that thought. So my actual topic tonight was a Troy Hunt article. So because
Have I been pwned?
have I been pwned? Yeah. So they it was because like we talked about info stealers. I think it was in my topic a few weeks ago about the top Mac malware of 24. We talked a little bit about info stealers. But this is a corpus of, it says 1.5 terabytes worth of stealer logs known as alien text base that were loaded into Have I Been Pwned, containing 23 billion rows with 493 million unique website and email address pairs, affecting 284 million unique email addresses. Also added 244 million passwords we've never seen before to pwned passwords and updated the counts against another 199 million that were already in there. So they, it's not that they doubled the size. The 244 million had not been seen before. It's amazing.
Which I think that's a big positive that, hey, maybe more people are using password managers and have unique passwords for things.
I had not thought about that in that light, but that's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm hoping that's it.
That's a good point. Yeah. I wonder.
The 199 other million were too secret with the number 2 and the number 3 and a 7 for the T.
Exactly. Or just password 1.
Yeah. Password
Exclamation
1, 2, 3,
point.
4.
Password 2. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So it says, finally, we have a way for domain owners to query their entire domain for stealer logs and for website operators to identify customers who have had their email addresses snared when entering them into the site. The first thing I pulled out was a reminder, but he had a quote in here from a article by the Australian Signals Directorate that was basically kind of telling the story of how do you get an info stealer in the first place. And so the story here was when working from home, Alice remotely accesses the corporate network of her organization using her personal laptop. Alice downloaded onto her personal laptop a version of Notepad++ from a website she believed to be legitimate. An info stealer was disguised as the installer for the Notepad++ software. And that's kind of what we talked about a few weeks ago, is different, different ways that the stealers were masquerading as legitimate software on spoofs of legitimate websites. Once Alice attempted to install the software, the info stealer activated and began harvesting user credentials from her laptop. This included her work username and password, which she had saved into her web browser's saved logins feature. The info stealer then sent those user credentials to a remote command and control server controlled by a cyber criminal group. So, and then the stealer dumps are just an aggregation of as many of these as can be found and kind of commingled. So one of the other things that's also interesting is Troy's attempt. So before he loads anything into Have I Been Pwned, he attempts to verify the data. It's hard. It can be really hard to know whether or not you're seeing, essentially garbage or generated stuff or legitimate data. And so one of the things he did two things here that I thought were worth kind of calling out. The first is that for like if there was a Netflix username and password in here, Netflix, he said he didn't realize this, but if you just go to netflix.com slash login or something like that, but you try to log in with an account that's in the Philippines or in Mexico or something else, it will not actually let you reset the password. But when he saw that the URL for the Netflix URL in the dump was like, I think it was ENPH or MX. For ENPH, it was like English Philippines. So if he went to Netflix in the Philippines and attempted to say forgot password, it worked. So kind of confirming, he doesn't try to log in with the username and password because that kind of crosses a ethical boundary. But doing something like the forgot password and will sometimes verify that the password has been done, sort of depending on how the site treats that. But so he verified that for not usernames, but email addresses where the associated site was in different countries, that the Netflix would not send the password reset if you went outside the country and did send the reset if you went inside the country. So kind of confirming that the the URL in the log line was legit.
Right.
So then the second thing he did was he said he emailed a handful of Have I Been Pwned subscribers and asked for their support in verifying the breach. So he said he got a fast, willing response from one guy and sent over more than 1,100 rows of data against his address.
Wow.
Here's the quote. It's fascinating what you can tell about a person from a stealer log data. He's obviously German based on the presence of websites with the .de address. Uses all the usual stuff most of us do, Amazon, eBay, LinkedIn, Airbnb. But it's the less common ones that make for more interesting reading. He drives a Mercedes because he's logged into an address there for owners. Appears he likes whiskey, given his account at an online specialist. He's a Firefox user, as he's logged in there too, and seems to be a techie, as he's logged into Seagate, and a site selling some very specialized electrical testing equipment. So, and the guy returned to him and was like, yep, and my machine was infected, last fall. So, because that's the thing, like, if your browser password is compromised, or if your machine's compromised and they're able to read, your browser cache files, there's lots and lots. If you've stored your passwords there, they have to be available for use. So, it doesn't take a long time. So, I mean, the rest of the article, it kind of goes into other kind of more programmatic stuff about Have I Been Pwned. I didn't like they're doing a whole bunch of subscription stuff these days, and they're making this data available via some of the higher level subscriptions. So if you own a website or you own a domain and you want to do that, you can do it. But then they also kind of call out some of the free stuff that they're doing, like the pwned password database, etc. So that's some good stuff. But actually, I haven't looked at this for a long time. Have I been pwned? Let me see. I haven't gotten. I should have gotten a. I haven't gotten a notification in a long time. Let's see.
Yeah, me neither. Me either.
I'm trying to remember if I don't see anything in here newer than 2023 for me, at least.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in there for a long time.
Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. All right. So still remaining kudos to Troy Hunt for continuing to improve the world and this rock we live on. Thank you, Troy. So, okay, there you go. That's my topic. How about something fun?
All right. My something fun, like I said, is the more fun. So we have talked about this a number of different times.
I saw this.
Apparently now,
It's beginning.
Jurassic Park news, we have now cloned a mammoth, some mammoth traits into a mouse. So we now have the woolly mouse. Woolly mouse mammoth.
Mammoth mouse?
a mammoth mouse. It's not big. It's just furry and fuzzy. And they have pictures and video of these mice. So here you go. It's being done at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And I'll just
No.
kind of go through how to make a woolly mouse. Santa Cruz, the banana slugs. You gotta love the banana slugs. What a great mascot. How to create a woolly mammoth. They identified genetic variants in which mammoth differed from their closest living relative, the Asian elephant, and they pinpointed 10 variants related to hair length, thickness, texture, color, body fat, etc. And they took a gene. I won't try to, a gene that targets the hair growth, and now they have mice that have longer, shaggier hair, similar to the woolly hair texture, the wavy coats, curled whiskers, etc. They identified another gene which regulates melanin production in order to produce mice with golden hair rather than the dark fur. Anyway, so they made 10 edits using 3 cutting-edge techniques to 7 mice genes. Now, the paper currently is unpublished, but for the article, I think it's a CNN link here. I'm sure there's other links, but CNN link, they shared an unpublished, pre-printed scientific paper describing the research, which has not undergone peer review. So this may be giggles for nothing, but we now have woolly mammoth mice-ish. I'll give you the asterisk there.
So did they make all 10 changes to one set of mice, or did they vary and do different cohorts of mice with different gene
if I'm reading it right, they made 8 of the edits simultaneously and then applied them.
Oh, interesting.
So they're not all identical. So they've been playing around with it, but it has begun. The box has been opened. There is no shoving.
It was opened a couple of years ago, but yeah,
exactly.
Okay,
so there you
go. May our woolly mice overlords,
let's see,
be kind
if
to us.
Anybody asks whether or not we should,
just because we could,
because clearly we can.
Clearly we can. All right.
Anyways, that's my something fun.
So
woolly
I would
mice.
like some genes from this next. My something fun splice into me, please.
Wait, I read sharks. What?
Yeah.
You have shark genes?
So mine is a Smithsonian link that is Greenland sharks are large, mysterious creatures that roam the chilly waters of, take a guess, I'm assuming Greenland. It says the North Atlantic and Arctic Ocean. These elusive animals are considered the longest living vertebrates on the planet and can survive to be roughly 400 years old, which is pretty good for a large
I want to say
vertebrate.
We've talked about these sharks. Sharks are like really old.
Did we? Okay, hold on.
I don't know if we talked about this specifically, but I want to say I remember talking about sharks and age of sharks at some point off the coast of our new 51st state.
No, it'll be the 52nd, right after Canada.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. You're right. I forgot.
But, so let me read you something else. So this was from an article that was linked from like last year, so it's not related to this. It says, in the frigid depths, the cold-blooded animals' movements and metabolism slow dramatically. This quote is why I pulled out this other thing. Greenland sharks' metabolic rate is just above a rock. Chris Lowe, a shark biologist at the California State University at Long Beach, told Smithsonian Magazine in 2016. Just above a rock. Greenland sharks are slow growing, less than half an inch per year, but live so long that mature specimens reach more than 19 feet in length. These sharks may not reach reproductive age until they are 150 years old, longer than any human has ever survived. Based on their growth rates and the size of some sharks, their maximum age could be as much as 500 years. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Okay, but what's the actual article about? Well, they sequenced a Greenland shark's genome, and researchers in Japan discovered multiple copies of genes that might explain why the animals don't often get cancer. So there's a gene.
Okay.
So the genes in question influence what's known as the NF-KB signaling pathway. I don't know anything about this signaling pathway, but it says it supports the body's immune system and regulates inflammation. When the pathway is disrupted, pathogens and tumor cells are able to flourish, suggesting that it plays an important role in an animal's overall health and well-being. So copies of these genes are significantly increased in Greenland sharks compared to other shorter-lived shark species. So they kind of, in this way, they've shown, perhaps proved is too strong, they've shown that if you damage this, it has, deleterious effects. But then it also says Greenland sharks are not the only creatures in the sea with a high number of genes related to the NFKB signaling pathway. Another long-lived animal, the red sea urchin, also has multiple copies of the genes linked to this pathway, and red sea urchins can live to be more than 100 years old, which is pretty cool. So the second thing is that it says they other researchers sequencing the Greenland shark genome found another hint to their superpower: multiple copies of 81 genes involved in DNA repair. In particularly, they found that the sharks carried an altered version of the TP53 gene, which helps suppress tumors and repair DNA. These findings, published in a preprint paper in September, suggest the Greenland shark's TP53 mutation may also play a role in the species' longevity, although more research is needed. So, how cool is that?
That is cool. So, I know I'm not going crazy. I did the same thing, searched our podcast. So, episode 123.
Okay, wait, what? 123.
We don't jinx me, Friday, April 17th, 2020. So,
Okay,
5 years ago, we did an article from BBC News on just Greenland sharks are the oldest living sharks.
Look
so
at
that was the something fun. It wasn't, and I think it was actually you that did that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it wasn't on the genome or figuring that out. It was just really old sharks.
Well,
sharks live to be really old.
Who doesn't like old sharks?
Anyone
swimming with them, probably.
Or maybe if they're old, they've lost their teeth. They're grandpa shark.
Well, good memory. And why did I not catch that when I hit shark? But I see it now. So very cool. Maybe I misspelled shark. Shark. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
May we know more about the shark genes? Fun.
All right.
All right, my friend.
There you go.
Let's call it a show.
It's a show. Have a good night, John.
I'll talk to you later, Eric. Bye.
Bye.